Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this.
Hello, and welcome to Cracked Sisters Conspiracies. We're a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all of our spooky shit. My name's Jackie.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we are said sisters. Happy 4th of July!
What the fuck? It is not 4th of July.
But you know,
it is May 30th.
Now that we are releasing every week, I decided to do some research into when realistically the episodes come out. And this will be aired on 4th of July. Because we've been sleeping on all of the holidays that we passed because we talk about it 3 months.
We are so
because
behind.
we have such a backlog. So.
I never thought to do that. Also, we're actually going to post on a holiday. We're not going to take a federal holiday off and rest.
No.
I know, weird.
Fuck that.
We have nothing better to do. Let's be real.
Exactly.
Oh, that's exciting though, because it's a Tuesday. That means you'll be home.
It is.
You can celebrate with us.
Do you have it off?
The 4th of July? Yes. I am a non-government or a non-public servant, so it's very normal.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do.
I don't know either, but I am taking the Friday prior up through 4th of July off. So nice 5-day vacay.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And also, I know this is not relevant to when this is post, but happy birthday to me because my birthday is on Saturday.
Happy almost birthday to you. We're going to hopefully not drown in Lake Havasu.
We will see.
I learned how to drive a boat over this past weekend camping on Lake Kachuma or Kachuma Lake, depending on who you ask.
I would say Lake Kachuma.
Okay, ask your father. There's going to be some difference of opinion there.
Oh, no.
Not worth hashing at this moment, or rehashing rather. But
okay.
I say Lake Kachuma.
Yeah, Lake Kachuma.
As most other people would. So, anywho, I got to drive a boat there because the lake was full. Weather was gorgeous. It was perfect conditions. We caught nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And Grayson lost interest in fishing in about 5 minutes because
That's about how long it takes me to lose interest in it.
Right? And she's 7. She has absolutely no patience. You don't learn to appreciate the serene solitude of fishing until you are
an old man.
Old and curmudgeonly.
Do you like fishing?
I enjoyed the experience.
I don't like fishing.
I mean, I didn't have my fishing license, so I illegally casted the 2-foot rod a couple of times, but I caught nothing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I have fished as an adult, and the last time we went camping at Kachuma was probably 25 years ago, for me at least.
I haven't been since I was a kid, and I obviously wasn't fishing.
So,
interesting.
Anywho, so what is our topic of conversation today?
Today we're going over D.B. Cooper.
Excuse me. Who is that?
He's a man that we're going to talk about.
I remember Without a Paddle. That's what
that
is.
So I watched that last night because that was my quote unquote research. It is fucking hilarious. I forgot how funny that movie is and how much I love Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, Seth Green,
and
who was the other person?
Dak Shepard.
That's what it was. For some reason, I thought it was Breckin Meyer in my head, but because he was around at that time too, but it was not him.
Yeah, so 4 of them, and they grew up as kids obsessing over the D.B. Cooper case, and then one of them tragically dies or something. So they're like, hey, he's been working on this. Yeah, we took it serious as a kid, but as an adult, he's been going back and trying to figure out where D.B. Cooper's body is. So let's take this trip in remembrance of him. So they do, and it's just a fucking shit show. But it was 2004.
Oh.
And it shows because they are making references or doing accents that maybe wouldn't be appropriate.
Color.
And then there's one scene where they get into this bumfuck nowhere town. And Matthew Lillard's character is like, hey, I need to call my girlfriend. And he goes to a payphone. And Seth Green, he's like, wait, I just got this cool new cell phone. Like, you can take pictures, you can set a ringtone, and they're blown away. And it was the most cool thing.
Was it a flip phone?
It was a flip phone.
Okay, so we were after the Nokia brick at
Yes,
that point.
we were in cool. He kept calling it a satellite phone, but I think he meant to call it a cell phone because it just looks like a cell phone. It doesn't look like
I mean,
a sat
satellite phone. Oh, yeah, that was a thing too. But.
Well, those are very distinct in what they look like.
So
They're not
actually,
flip phones.
for our Patreon viewers, I feel like they would benefit from their membership.
From your ass hanging out in this video?
My ass hanging out in my shorts. But they get the visual component. Where is it? Oh, did I get rid of it? Oh, no, I know I have it somewhere. I have all of my old cell phones.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
you were so dad's
Here's
child.
my HTC.
Oh, it's a little.
I have a BlackBerry still. I think I still have my Razor.
I wanted a BlackBerry so goddamn bad.
I lived on the Crackberry, and I kept it as a.
Does Grayson have it?
It's very possible, but I kept it as an emergency backup phone, and I actually used it when one of my other phones died over time. I have almost every phone I've ever owned.
So I decided to not love you, Dad, be like Dad, and I did throw away 90% of. I think I threw away actually all of my old phones because I had every single one just in case, but I'm not gonna fucking use them.
Yeah.
So,
but what I've realized over time is, oh, you know what? I think I have some in another box. I kept the phones, but the chargers have changed significantly.
Oh yeah.
So like they use chargers that I can't even tell you what the connection is.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So I know I have a phone without a charger, so I'm like, oh, I should probably get rid of this
just fucking throw it
phone.
away.
And I might have gotten rid of an item or two, but I also have a growing e-waste pile because I'm finally starting to let go of my old technology.
There you go.
The only thing I think I have to hold on to is my laptop from when that was my graduation present.
Is that the one you're still using when you come over to my house?
No.
Oh.
That was an old work hand-me-down, but I still have my old Dell Inspiron 6000. It was a graduation present. I graduated high school in 2005. It has Windows XP on it.
Does it still turn on?
It does.
Oh.
And I still have the charger for it, but I had gotten Grayson a knockoff iPod, like an MP3 player, because it looks exactly like an iPod, but it's only compatible with Windows XP or earlier. And I'm like, okay, well, now I've just been having fun ripping CDs and, making her playlists. So I'll hold on to that.
It was a sad day in the LaRue household when my iPod Touch took a shit about 9 months ago.
Every iPod I have ever owned has been stolen out of my vehicle.
Lock your car.
The first time was entirely my fault because I did leave my truck unlocked.
Yes.
The second time, my window got busted.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for sure 2 were stolen. There might have been a third in the rotation before I just gave up on the dream of having portable music.
No, Mom's coworker Johnny sold me my iPod Touch in 2010.
Oh my gosh.
And I listened to it, no joke, every single day. Not only at school all day long during class, but as I got older, it was just in my truck, and that's the only music I listened to until literally about 9 months ago in 2020. What are we in?
2023 last.
I think the end of 2022 is when it finally took a shit and I could not get it to work. And I took it to Best Buy. And I'm like, hey, can you help me? Something happened. I swear to God, it worked yesterday. And he just looked at me and went, what the fuck is this? I go, it's an iPod. He goes, move on. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Wow.
So he couldn't fix it. So Mom gave me her old iPod. But then I found, because I've also had 10 different iPods, I found one of my old ones that I have in my truck that I listen to occasionally.
Okay. So what we did was
I can't move on from the iPods.
I got it. But what this conversation accomplished was really setting the tone in which the movie, the era that it took place. Okay.
I mean, the movie was in 2004. This happened in the 70s.
That's right. D.B.
So
Cooper.
we're totally on the wrong.
Yes, Without a Paddle is not the topic of conversation. It just happened.
God, it's a good movie.
To highlight that. Got it. So circling back, take it away.
Okay, so on November 24th, 1971, an unidentified man was carrying a black briefcase and a brown paper bag, and he purchased a one-way ticket in cash for Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 from Portland to Seattle.
I am going to go on a limb here and say that Northwest Orient Airlines does not exist anymore.
I don't think so, because I've never fucking heard of that.
And I don't think you're allowed to say things like that anymore.
It's not Oriental.
I know. I just feel like that's
Orient, like you're orientated.
I was thinking
North.
I don't know.
I feel like that's a directional term.
I just feel okay. You know what? You might be right.
But you're right. I also don't think it's it's there anymore.
It is now defunct. Okay. Is that a word?
Defunct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I should know that.
Witnesses described the man as a white male adult in his mid-40s with dark hair and brown eyes.
So any man ever.
He had been wearing a dark business suit with a white button-up shirt, a thin black tie, a black raincoat, and brown shoes. The man told the chick at the counter that his name was Dan Cooper.
Sorry, I was just stuck on the black coat and brown shoes.
Right? I did the same thing when I wrote these notes. I went, oh, that's a cardinal sin right there. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed the female flight attendant, her name was Florence Schaffner, a note. Schaffner assumed it was just his phone number, so she put it in her purse without reading it. Cooper leaned over and said, quote, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb."
Oh my God. What was the point of the note then if you're just going to come right out?
I know. Well, he didn't expect her to just put it away without looking at it. Schaffner gave the note back to Cooper and sat down next to him. She asked to see the bomb, so he opened the briefcase, and the flight attendant saw 2 rows of 4 red cylinders, which she assumed was dynamite. Attached to the cylinders, there were wires and a large cylindrical battery.
So, question.
Yes.
Do we know if it's legitimately a bomb or just something made to look like a bomb? Because I don't know.
I never found out.
Because you could tell me something's a bomb, and if it has all the components, I would be like, okay.
I don't think so, because in all my research, they never went into dissecting the bomb, because normally bomb is a very personal object that someone makes. It has a lot of signatures based on that person.
Oh.
So, and all the, I have 9 pages of notes. So, and all of it, they never fucking talked about the bomb, so I don't think it was real. Schaffner wrote down all of Cooper's demands and then brought their note into the cockpit and informed all crew that, hey, we're being hijacked, basically.
Awesome.
The flight captain, named William A. Scott, contacted Northwest Flight Operations in Minnesota and relayed his demands. Minnesota. So Cooper wanted $200,000 in a knapsack by 5 p.m. He wanted 2 front parachutes and 2 back parachutes. And he wanted the money in negotiable American currency. And upon landing in Seattle, the fuel trucks must meet the plane and all passengers must remain seated while the first flight attendant, Schaffner, brought the money aboard. He said he would release all of the passengers after he got the money, and the last items brought aboard would be the 4 parachutes.
I feel like that's a lot of money to ask for in such a short amount of time. I can't imagine that.
And it's the 70s, $200,000. I forgot the fucking.
That's a lot when you account for inflation over the years.
Yeah.
But I don't think the banks had the abundant reserves that we have now. So you usually have to call to arrange something like that. So he's just setting them up for failure to begin with.
Well, we'll see. So the passengers were told that their arrival would be a little delayed due to a minor mechanical difficulty because they didn't want to freak everyone out.
The mechanical difficulty being the plane might explode.
The president of Northwest Orient, Donald Nipro, authorized the payment of the ransom and ordered that all employees need to cooperate and comply with Cooper's demands.
I'm sure that's not something that happened very often.
No, because after this event, it changed a lot of the ways metal detectors were brought in. It changed a lot of ways, kind of like 9/11 did.
Yeah, nothing like a good terrorist event to, change the aviation system.
Yeah. So for approximately 2 hours, the plane circled to give Seattle police and the FBI time to get the money, parachutes, and set up emergency personnel.
Do police stations keep cash on hand?
No.
No.
We have cash. It's a forfeit essitor.
Okay.
I'm not saying that right.
Okay. I don't know.
But yeah, but that's not this is more like the FBI.
They don't
need
have
to contact a bank or something. No.
Hostage negotiations.
No.
Okay.
So the flight captain, once Schaffner, the flight attendant, came in and told the cockpit what was going on and gave Cooper's demands, the flight captain's like, "Hey, I don't want you going back out there with Cooper. Instead, we're gonna send this bitch, Tina Mucklow." And so she was now acting liaison between Cooper and the remaining flight staff, which is fucking rude.
It's rude, and also I don't have a lot of confidence in her based on her name alone.
I mean, she
Sorry,
does pretty
Tina.
well. But it's like, how are you gonna say, hey, this is dangerous. You can stay in here. Tina, go. Go to the hijacker. Like, poor fucking Tina.
What was Tina's role initially?
So she's also a flight attendant. She had nothing to do with it.
So it's not like she was any more skilled or experienced.
No. But once Schaffner came into the locked cockpit, because I assume they lock it behind them or something, she said, hey, this is what's happening. And the captain said, okay, you stay in here. We'll have Tina go deal with it.
Clearly there was a favorite amongst the flight crews.
So while the plane was circling, Mucklow was making small talk with Cooper, and she noted that he seemed familiar with the local terrain and that he didn't seem nervous, and she recalled him just being really nice. Like, I guess while they were flying, he like looked out the window and said, oh, there's Tacoma, Washington.
A pleasant terrorist.
He kind of was. Like, that's the vibe that is throughout this whole story. She asked him why he had chosen Northwest Airlines to hijack, to which he laughed and said, it's not because I have a grudge against your airlines, it's just because I have a grudge.
But against who? What? Why?
The world? I don't know. So around 5:24 p.m., the captain was informed that Cooper's demands were ready to be dropped off. So Cooper then told the captain to park the plane in a particularly lit runway and demanded that only one representative from the airline approach the plane with his parachutes and his money.
Was it Tina?
It wasn't. Because she's on the plane. They want only one person driving to the plane and handing off his shit.
Okay.
It's Al. So Northwest Orient's Seattle operations manager, Al Lee, was designated to be the courier. So fucking Al and Tina pissed somebody off.
Yeah, they drew the short straw that day for sure.
So Al arrived on scene. Tina went out there. She grabbed all of the shit that Cooper requested, and she then gave Cooper everything that he wanted, and Cooper agreed to release all the passengers. So he was in the furthest back seat of the plane, so it wouldn't be suspicious that everyone's now getting off and he's not getting off yet because he's in the back of the plane, and normally
and he's one of those respectful people that sits and waits for the plane to empty.
Yeah, instead of the people that are fucking like
standing in the that
nothing makes me fucking matter when the person behind you stands up and like they're gonna go. It's like, oh no, bitch, if I have to wait, we're all fucking waiting. I will wait here all day.
Right? No, we have established in a prior episode that I do not travel via plane very often. I do have to modify a statement that I made. I misspoke when I said that Vegas was the last time I had been on a plane in 10 years. I realized I forgot I had gone to Idaho with Evan when we went to go scout it out. So correction, I have been on a plane twice in the past decade.
I'm literally going on a plane on Monday.
Hated it. Yes, you are. Hated it both times. But I have no desire to get up and just stand and wait my turn.
It's so fucking rude.
Weird. Do you clap when the plane lands?
No, I'm not a clapper.
Thank God. Okay. I mean, no offense, but kind of a little.
No,
offense.
dude. If you clap,
those people,
get fucked, bro. Okay, so while waiting for all the passengers to depart the plane, Tina was trying to make the situation less tense because she's standing next to him in the back.
Was she doing stand-up on the plane?
No, but she jokingly asked Cooper, she's like, hey, can I have some of the money? And he's like, sure. And he handed her a stack of bills.
See, you know what? That just goes to show it never hurts to ask.
Right?
The worst you can hear is no.
Exactly. So she's like, oh, fuck. No, it's against policy. Please take it back.
You know what? I feel like policy should go out the window.
I would have taken the fucking bill.
In a hijacking situation. That should be my, what's the word? My hazard pay, essentially, for having to deal with that.
So during the whole interaction, multiple flight attendants had asked small favors of Cooper. Like, one wanted to go get her purse that was behind his seat, and another at some point was like, hey, can we all fucking leave? Like, we don't want to be here anymore.
So they were like legitimate asks. They're not trying to be shady.
So every time Cooper was very polite when the chick asked to get her purse, he's like, yeah, I won't bite you. So she got her purse. And then when the other one asked if her and multiple other flight attendants could leave, he goes, whatever your girls would like. Like, he was like just very blasé, very nice.
So clearly the issue is not with them.
No, not at all. It's not like he was like holding them accountable for something and taking it out on them.
So it's like a tinge of terrorism, not like
like a scotch.
A scotch.
So there was a slight issue with the refueling of the plane. So while they were all waiting, Tina stated Cooper had expressed a dissatisfaction with the money having been given in a cloth bag because he specifically asked for it to be in a knapsack.
Ooh. Are knapsacks not made of cloth?
Bro, I don't know. I assume a knapsack is a potato sack, but I don't know.
Oh, like a
That's burlap.
burlap. That's the word.
This is the 70s. I don't know what the fuck a knapsack is.
I feel like I would have fucked that one up because
Well, they did. And he was a little upset because they gave it in a canvas bag. And he went, this isn't what I asked for. So we got a little annoyed with that. But then he used a pocket knife and he cut one of the canopies from the reserve parachutes because he asked for 4. And he stuffed some of the money inside of the parachute bag.
I wonder what the motivation for the.
I don't know. But now that only leaves him with 3 parachutes instead of 4.
What would he need more than one for?
So some theorize that he requested multiple to make it seem like he would be taking hostages because they're more likely to comply if they think he's getting hostages. Because why would one person?
Yeah, because I'm like, it's just, looking out for number one. He just needs to bounce.
No, they assume he wanted it to seem like he was bringing more, so they would be more inclined to comply.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Cooper then gave the cockpit crew.
Say that 5 times
I
fast.
can't even say it once. His flight plan and directives. So this is what he wanted them to do. A southeast course towards Mexico City at the minimum airspeed possible without stalling the aircraft, which would be approximately 100 knots, and at a maximum of 10,000 feet in altitude. He also specified the landing gear must be deployed, the wing flaps must be lowered 15 degrees, and the cabin must remain unpressurized.
So he knows shit about planes.
Right?
Also, I just need to digress a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand how knots work. I work with a bunch of people who are sailors.
It's also 115 miles per hour.
Thank you. Okay, so what was the knots?
100 knots, which would equal 115 miles per hour. So it's like, oh God, please don't go on the kilogram.
No, we're not gonna go there. So I'm just gonna kind of round down. So if you say 100 knots, it's about 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, so a knot is about a mile.
Thank you. My little brain needed a way to easily digest that. Continue.
You better remember this when you're driving the boat on Saturday. And I say, 10 knots, let's go.
7 miles an hour.
No,
wait. 12 miles an hour. You know what? About 10 miles.
You're fired.
I was trying to do the conversion. I'm like, no, I already just blew my own logic out of the water. About 10 miles an hour. Hold on. Do we have the same color nails?
No. Oh my God, I wanted to talk about this. So, Alex, I took him to his first mani-pedi.
I saw.
It was his idea because he's like, oh, your birthday's coming up. We're going to the lake. Let's go get our nails done.
Did he like it?
He fucking loved it. That bougie bitch. I literally saved a fucking life and he didn't stop fucking with his back massager. Let me tell you about this.
Ooh.
So we're sitting there. We're getting a mani-pedi. He gets like the most expensive one. He gets a paraffin wax.
Ooh.
And it looked really funny. He's like, I'll get you one. I go, no, I'm okay. So he does that. He wants a mani-pedi. He wants the whole thing. This is his first time because this is his first time his skin is okay because of his shots. So he was really self-conscious prior to. He has really bad eczema.
We all.
No, we don't.
Fuck off.
I don't.
You don't know the struggles.
So
Eggsy's face.
So we're getting it. He's like super kind of uncomfortable because the woman's asking him questions and he's like the panic looking at me. I don't know what she's saying.
Because he doesn't understand.
And I'm like, so I'm trying to explain it and she's just laughing. So
she's
at some
probably
point,
just commenting on his size.
I know. I like her. I've had her before. So at some point she just looks at me and starts asking me. He goes, I don't know. She'll tell you what I want.
Sure.
So he's doing that. And then I'm getting both my toes and my hands done at the same time. And then the woman across from me, she's maybe in her early 30s. And she just kind of like, I like every once in a while look at her. I'm on my phone otherwise. But then she just kind of is looking like she's not doing so hot. She just kind of has a blank stare and her hands, it's called contractures. Her hands are just
like the claws?
The claws. They're
Oh.
and I'm like, hey, is she okay? And then everyone's like, nah. And I'm like, cool, move. So I get up, my fucking feet are soaking wet, and I go over to her, and I think she's having a seizure. And I'm like, hey, can someone fucking call 911? So the chick next to her is like, yeah, I'll do that. So she does that. I make sure she's still breathing. And it goes on for over a minute. And she finally comes to. And I'm like, hello. And she goes, hey, what's happening? I go, you just blacked out. I think you had a seizure. And she goes, oh, yeah. And I'm like, is this
prone to that?
Well, I said, is this common for you? Because you're awfully calm. She goes, no. But then I later find out that she's had seizures in the past and she's blacked out in the past. And then she keeps putting her hand on her stomach, but she doesn't look pregnant. I go, hey, are you pregnant? She goes, yeah. I go, okay. And she's like, I'm really fine. I'm like, no, we're going to keep the paramedics rolling. And I'm like, so how far along are you? Just trying to make small talk. She's like, oh, I'm 4 months. And I go, is it a boy or girl? She goes, well, I'm finding out after this. This is why I'm getting my nails done.
Oh, you know, and
I'm
not
like,
going
oh
to
my
that
God.
appointment.
So I'm like, why don't you call your boyfriend and we'll get him rolling? And then, you know, the firefighters came or whatever. And she was totally fine. She refused to go because she's like, I feel fine now. And that's when I realized this must happen often because she wasn't acting like someone, like someone else would be. So, you know, she came up to me before she left and she said, thanks again. And I go, you know, good luck on your shit. And I watched her, you know, boyfriend take her out or whatever. Literally, while I'm saving a life, Alex is like, man, this massager's cool. And he's just fucking with the buttons. He's like, this is not my problem. And like, oh, I like this setting on the massage. And I'm like, you motherfucker. So anyway, back to this.
What
so after I saved a life,
narcissist.
well, he told me after, he's like, you know what you're doing. I don't need to be in there.
Did he not think that that was the coolest thing ever?
He did. He just didn't want to tell me.
His woman step up and just be a badass bitch like that?
He's like, I expected you to do something. Like, I don't need to get in there. Like, you're doing fine. So.
I mean, he's right, but no, you deserve a little more.
It was funny.
Praise.
Well, she was actually she paid for my.
Did she
She
really?
paid for my shit. So when I went up there, I said, hey, I think you took my ticket. And he's like, yeah, the woman's life that you saved paid for it. I went, oh my God, that's
so nice.
Anyway, so I had picked a dark gray for my nails. And
that is not dark gray.
Thank you. And a pink for my toes. I had men who I hate getting men nail stylists.
No
people.
offense to men, but
no offense, but they don't
touch.
do the greatest job. You know, usually in my experience,
do not adhere to our needs.
And men are fucking colorblind.
They are.
So the dude pulls out the stuff. He goes, oh, it's dry. I said, okay. And he's like, and he didn't speak very good English, which is fine. But I'm like, hey, any dark gray in general, I'm cool.
Something
so he's like, cool.
this.
So he comes back and he doesn't even show me. I just see a dark bottle and I went, perfect. And he puts the first coat on. I went, this is blue. And he does all my nails. I went, this is fucking blue.
So that's
and
not
I just
blue.
keep thinking, this is blue.
That is borderline green.
Like, are you colorblind? Oh, that's green,
okay,
you idiot.
No, they're very similar. Okay.
So, you know what? I looked at this and I went,
it's
this
more
is Cassie.
a tealy color.
This is the color Cassie would
yes,
get.
Because I have entered my bad bitch forest green era. That is my power color.
This is a dark blue.
This is the color I wear all day, every day now.
I wanted gray. I'm very upset about it, but I'm not going to be the person like, bitch, you picked the wrong color, so I'll just fucking write it out. But
I mean, you had every right, considering you saved a life in their establishment. You should get whatever you want.
It's okay.
Oh, but so Alex enjoyed it. I should take him for a ladies' day to the Four Seasons.
You have no idea. While we're sitting there, I'm like, "Are you having fun?" And he's like, "I'm in heaven." And I go, "Cool." He's like, "I want to do this twice a month." I go, "That's excessive."
I will take.
He's like, "I want a facial." I said, "Honey, they don't give facials here." He goes, "Well, I don't care. I want a facial. I want my nails did. I want to be pampered." So he would love to go to the Four Seasons.
So for his birthday, at the very least, him and I are gonna have a girls' day.
He would love that.
We're gonna go to the Four Seasons spa.
Oh my God,
I am going to treat him. Alex, what? I don't know if you even listen. You probably
he doesn't. He told me he exclusively does not.
You know what? Demoted. You lose one,
but he pays for our Patreon.
Okay, fine. You support us, kind of.
He said, "I will financially support you guys. I don't want to listen to you." I said, "That's fair."
Then we will just talk about you.
Exactly.
So back to DB Cooper.
Okay, so he gave the captain his demands that, you know, he wants the airplane going at this many knots and this many altitude and
so
whatever.
Demonstrating that he knew what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah. Apparently Cooper's original calculations had been wrong, and he was told that per his request they would need to stop at some point while en route to Mexico City to refuel. What you doing?
I am acting like the captain of the
She's
pilot.
playing with the
I have
simulator.
A flight control system simulator. Actually, I don't have it.
God, Alex wants one of those so bad. And when I told him Evan had one, he almost shit his pants. He was very upset.
Yeah, because his boyfriend gets all the cool toys that he wants. I don't know how to use it. I couldn't even figure it out if I tried. But it seemed an appropriate.
There you go. Not to bust
accessory.
That out. So yeah, so the captain's like, "Hey, you're a little wrong. We're gonna have to.
You're a little wrong.
We're gonna have to refuel at some point." So after some back and forth, everyone agreed that they would stop in Reno, Nevada, to refuel. At approximately
at some point in the journey,
the plane was fueled up and they took off. Per Cooper's demands, the plane took off with the rear exit door open, which was terrifying to the crew, specifically Tina, who was stuck again, being with Cooper this entire time. So he's like, hey, we're going to take off now because all the passengers have gotten off. He got his money, got his shit. He goes, we're going to keep the back door open.
So all of the stuff that you see in movies, like you open a door and then you're going to fly out.
So
and you get
he
sucked
requested
out.
the plane be depressurized.
Oh.
And if you don't close the doors, you can't
pressurize the
pressurize. So it
cabin.
was already like that the whole entire flight. But it's like scary having just a giant fucking window.
That's gotta be so fucking loud.
Right?
I
I didn't
would-
think about that.
I would just cry. I would sit and cry.
I
mean,
never
never mind
had a
the
flight
fact-
attendant.
Never mind the fact that I am on a plane being held hostage.
But he's nice. That's fine.
Sure, it makes it all better.
So shortly after takeoff, Cooper told
Stockholm
Tina.
syndrome.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Cooper told Tina to lower the air stair, which is the stairs that you walk down when you open the door. And Tina's like, nah, bro, I'm gonna be sucked out this fucking airplane. You do it.
That would be my response.
And so she's like, hey, can I go to the cockpit and get a rope to tie myself to the airplane?
Tina is having a
And he's
bad
like,
day.
no, I don't want you doing that. Like, I don't want you going to the cockpit. She's like, cool. Can we think of something else? Like, I don't want to be sucked out of this airplane. And so he's
Can you
like,
hold my belt loop.
there was many. So he's finally like, I'll fucking do it. Like, go away.
That just demonstrates that you can't rely on other people to do the things that you need them to do.
I
Do
know.
everything yourself.
Poor fucking Tina. So his last instruction to her was he told her to go to the cockpit, close the first class curtain behind her, and then remain in the cockpit for the duration of the flight.
Oh, righty.
So she's like, cool beans. So she begged him to take the bomb with him.
Sure.
Because she's like, hey, there's
I
still
don't want-
a fucking bomb on this plane.
Give poor Tina a break.
And he's like, yeah, like I'll either take it with me or I'll disarm it before I go. I haven't decided yet, which also makes me think it wasn't a real bomb. Because like, wouldn't you have a plan?
I feel
Bud?
with the amount of thought that has gone
Everything
into
else.
everything
And
else.
it's honestly like he honestly forgot about the bomb.
Yeah.
That
I
tells me it's
feel
just
like
not
that
real.
would be at the forethought of your mind.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, cool. So then she goes back and she does what she's told. And she was the last person to see Cooper. And it's believed that he jumped at approximately 8:13 p.m. And then the plane landed in Reno as it was scheduled to do so at approximately 11:02 p.m. And they calculate that that's the time he jumped because the wing dipped and there was like a little bit of a drop, which would, happen from a person jumping off of a fucking plane.
Sure. But up to this point, there's been no violence. There's been
He's been very
It was
nice.
a cordial
polite.
hijacking.
Yeah, of course. All right, so now we're going to go over the investigation.
Ooh.
So the FBI searched the plane and located 66 latent fingerprints, along with Cooper's black clip-on tie, a mother-of-pearl tie clip, a hair from his headrest, 8 filter-tipped Rayleigh cigarette butts from the armrest ashtray, because you could still smoke on planes at this point,
That was a long time ago.
and then 2 of the provided 4 parachutes.
Oh, so 2 of them were left behind. One of them he ripped up,
Uh-huh.
and then the other he used for himself.
Correct. The FBI interviewed multiple witnesses and started getting a composite sketch of what Cooper possibly looked like. This is what Cooper possibly looked like.
Any man,
Like just like a white
USA.
dude with like he's got a relatively thin face.
I mean,
It like tapers down at the chin.
he's
His eyes are a little far apart.
yeah. I was gonna say it's a little wide up top, but who am I to say anything?
So the FBI then started looking into possible suspects and located a Portland man named D.B. Cooper, who had a minor police record. So remember, when he purchased the ticket, he said his name was Dan Cooper.
Oh,
So they're like, maybe this guy was dumb enough to use his real name.
I feel like he wouldn't be though,
I
with
know.
all of the other thought he put into it. Also, not that it matters, Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Washington.
Portland, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
They look into this guy and they're like, hey, he does have a little bit of a police record. And after a short investigation, they actually ruled him out as a suspect. However, reporter named Clyde Jabin with United Press International Wire Service published a story with the name DB Cooper, since everyone just copies everyone.
Sure.
And so that got released, and then other news sites picked it up and they said, oh, DB Cooper. That's why we know the name DB Cooper.
Oh.
Because this poor dude was actually almost exonerated, I guess, from the suspect list, but this guy was on a deadline for the paper and he just published it without verifying his source.
Oh no.
Yep.
Poor Dan.
On December 6th, 1971, the FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover approved the use of an Air Force Blackbird to retrace the flight plan in an attempt to find the belongings of Cooper.
This is going to be really stupid, and we might have to cut this. Was Hoover a president?
No, so he's I think there was a president named Hoover, but it's not the same one. So, like, J. Edgar Hoover is really popular because he was the director of the FBI.
Oh.
He was like,
I'm like, I know the name.
See, Herbert
Hoover. I am woefully ignorant when it comes to American history. I did not pay attention to any of that. The only president I remember was James K. Polk, because I had to do a report on him once. I think he was the 12th president. Oh, he was 11th. See, I was wrong there too. Don't quote me on anything. Jesus.
So the Blackbird made 5 flights, but due to the poor visibility, they were never able to find anything concrete, because they originally wanted to have this Blackbird fly the path and then take photographs, so that way they could zoom in and create like a map of where it is. But each time you couldn't see shit from the plane, so they're like, this was a giant waste of our time.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Since they couldn't see the ground, they decided, hey, we're just gonna recreate his jump. So they took a plane and they pushed a 200-pound sled off the plane.
Oh, not a person. Okay.
Not a person. They didn't sacrifice a human being. They put a sled out, because that's roughly how much he weighed.
Did they put a parachute on the sled?
I don't know. I hope so. So they did that and tried to see if they could find where this sled lands, and maybe that's where DB landed.
Where he would be at that point.
Yes. So initial
extrapolations.
Yep. Place Cooper's Landing.
I love how you use words in your notes that you don't even know.
I didn't. Wikipedia did.
Oh, so it was just a copy and paste.
Sometimes I got a lot of notes. Sometimes, you get a little lazy.
No judgment.
Initial findings. Place Cooper's landing zone within an area on the southernmost outreach of Mount St. Helens, a few miles southeast of Ariel, Washington, near Lake Merwin. Murder. So FBI agents and sheriff's deputies then went and searched the area where he's alleged to have dropped via foot, helicopter, boat, and door-to-door searches. Neither Cooper nor any of his belongings were found during this extensive search. So they tried flying the Blackbird and taking pictures. They failed.
No dice.
They tried shoving a 200-pound sled out the thing and searching that area. Couldn't find nothing.
I mean, that one I can see potentially getting like a starting point, but how much time had passed between when the event took place and when
it was the same year? It was like within a month, maybe, or something.
The same year though, but I'm like, homie would have booked it from whatever landing site.
Yeah, but they're like they assume he's dead. So they're just trying to find a body.
Oh, they're working under the assumption that he is not with us.
A bill that fell out, or a parachute piece, or literally anything.
I immediately thought, homie jumped.
Gotcha.
Had a plan, and he's so far away from where.
So technically, that's also a possibility, because they can't find him, right?
Yeah, my immediate assumption was not that he perished.
Gotcha. So the next year in
should join the FBI. Continue.
I don't think you should. The next year in 1972, FBI teams helped approximately 200 U.S. soldiers search again, and they conducted an 18-day ground search. And the only thing that they discovered was a skeleton, but it belonged to a woman named Barbara Ann Derry. She was a teenage girl who had been abducted and murdered several weeks before. So they solved a murder.
They solved a crime. I wouldn't have expected a skeleton to be found that soon, but
I mean, it was the next year. I don't know what the weather condition is.
Yeah.
I think it's in winter. This is in winter, so technically you wouldn't
I feel
find
like it would have been more preserved than anything.
1,000%. You would not find a skeleton, so, but whatever. They solved that issue.
Sure, someone got closure, but not on this case.
Exactly. So the Northwest Orient offered a reward of 15% of any of the recovered money to a maximum of $25,000. In early 1972, U.S. Attorney General John N. Mitchell released the serial numbers to the general public, the serial numbers on the bills that they gave D.B. Cooper.
Oh.
2 men then used those serial numbers and printed counterfeit $20 bills and swindled $30,000 from a Newsweek reporter named Carl Fleming in exchange for an interview with the man they falsely claimed was the hijacker.
They had to have anticipated that was going to happen.
Not. And it happened multiple times to multiple
you
people.
have to assume the worst from people.
I know.
Do not expect people to stand up and do the right thing in 99% of the situations.
I agree, and they did not.
I am again, I should be part of the FBI.
For what?
I don't know.
What are you going to do? What would you do differently in this case that they've done?
Not stupid stuff like that.
Okay.
Be a voice of reason. I'll be a consultant to the FBI.
There you go. Consultant's a job.
There you go.
On February 10th, 1980, 8-year-old Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family on the Columbia River. As he raked the sandy riverbank to build a campfire, he uncovered 3 packets of the ransom cash, totaling about $5,800. The bills had disintegrated from lengthy exposure to the elements, but were still bundled in the original rubber bands. FBI technicians confirmed that the money was indeed a portion of the ransom. There was 2 packets of $120 bills and a third packet of 90 $100 bills, all arranged in the same order that was given to Cooper.
Moment of truth. You're at the beach. You're fucking around.
Not fucking calling the FBI.
I was going to say, are you going to say anything?
But I saw a picture. They're so disintegrated, you couldn't use it.
Oh, okay. Well, if there's no
usable,
gain,
that's mine.
Again, this harkens back to expect the worst.
Yeah, you just said people are trash, and you're like, I'm gonna steal this fucking money if I find it.
I did not say those words. I asked what would happen, and you offered.
You literally nodded and said, "Yup."
That would be expected behavior from people.
Exactly. After an extensive investigation into this found money, they still came up with fucking nothing. So those bills are the only confirmed physical evidence from the hijacking found outside of the aircraft to this day.
Which, yeah, again, is nothing. It's useless.
Yeah.
Pieces of money.
I mean, you got $5,800 back, I guess, but it's not usable, so it's pointless.
Yeah, and it's not like there's going to be any evidence on it.
Yeah. So in 2019, the FBI released a report stating that about 3 hours after Cooper had jumped, a burglary had been reported at a small grocery store in the general area that Cooper would have landed.
Sure.
The burglar was noted by the FBI to have taken only survival items, such as beef jerky and gloves.
Beef jerky, sure. Gloves, questionable.
So obviously,
I would have grabbed beef jerky and toilet paper.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Right?
So they followed up and they weren't able to substantiate that the burglar was Cooper.
Also, that could have been any single man's trip to the stores.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about the physical evidence that they found throughout this extensive years.
That was apparently useless
search.
in the long run.
Really, it is. After studying Cooper's clip-on tie, they were able to determine somehow that it came from a J.C. Penney and it was purchased or stolen prior to 1968 because that specific tie had been discontinued after 1968.
How awful would it be to be the person in charge of maintaining inventory records for ties? This particular
and a clip-on tie at that.
Right?
Trashy.
What a miserable existence that would be.
You wanted to be in the FBI.
I don't want to work for JCPenney's inventory control.
So in March 2009, a group of citizen sleuths using GPS, satellite imagery, and other technologies that were unavailable in 1971 began reinvestigating the components of the case. They called themselves the Cooper Research Team, or CRT for short, using electron microscopy.
Electron microscopes, but microscopy, I believe it.
And other sciencey shit. They were able to find all of these tiny metal particles that suggested that Cooper may have worked for Boeing or some other chemical manufacturing plant. Which would track
given his
Boeing,
aviation knowledge,
because he knew so much about planes.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
It does. So the FBI then went to work on the hair sample that was found on Cooper's headrest, and after confirming it could be used as a comparison one day, it conveniently was lost. In 1998, the FBI sought to extract DNA from the cigarette butts that had been on the ashtray of the handrest or armrest, but discovered the butts had been destroyed while in custody of the Las Vegas field office.
This sounds like an inside job if I ever heard it.
That's why there's some conspiracy theory.
There's some corruption potentially.
So now we're going to get into different possibilities of who
done
it. Per the flight attendant, Cooper was
which one?
Tina and the other bitch, Schaffner, that got relieved of duty. Cooper was described as about 5'10", black slicked back hair, brown eyes, 170 to 180 pounds, olive skin tone with no discernible accent. And then, of course, almost everyone else that they interviewed had a slightly different description. No, he wasn't 5'10". He was 5'9". No, he didn't have olive skin. He was white. No, he was Mexican. No, his eyes were a different color.
I am so bad at guesstimating things about people. Age, especially.
I'm so good at age. It is a superpower. I'm usually within 3 years of someone's age. I love that game.
Really?
Yeah, I'm so good at it.
No, see, I struggle with that because, like, I personally don't think I totally look the age that I am. And so when I apply that logic to other people, I don't think Evan looks like a 40-year-old man. And he always gets told he looks younger.
Yeah.
Like, you look like you're 12 most of the time.
I look like a little boy most of the time.
But yeah, but it's even worse when I'm trying to like age kids. That sounds weird.
So because I don't have a kid, I do not know what age kids
I have a kid and it skews my
If
view.
you're 16 and up, I got you. If you're under 16, I have no fucking idea.
I would never try to guess anyone's weight because muscle.
Oh, I do that. I'm not good at weight.
No, I would be wrong and just offend everyone all the time. I hurt my own feelings every day.
I know.
But I feel like a lot of the other like details like eye color and stuff I would probably
So
be
Tina
good
was
at.
the only one that gave a definitive eye color because she spent so much time with him, which was brown. But everyone else, like, I mean, height and stuff like that. Sometimes people aren't good at
If
guessing
people
that.
think he's Mexican versus like,
Well, they said olive skin. Olive is darker.
That's broad reaching. That kid.
But also someone's like, nah, he wasn't olive or Mexican. He's white. There was a couple different variations. Many theorize that Cooper was an Air Force veteran for a multitude of reasons. He was able to identify Tacoma, Washington just from an aerial view.
Nope.
And I guess there's McCord Air Force Base nearby at Tacoma that most civilians don't know about.
Sure.
I didn't know about it. FBI agents speculated that Cooper took his alias from a popular French language Belgian comic series featuring a fictitious hero, Dan Cooper, who was a Royal Canadian Air Force test pilot who took part in numerous heroic adventures.
But Dan Cooper was also a real person in the story, correct?
Well, that was the name he gave. DB Cooper was the real person that got misinterpreted by
I got that
news.
Confused. Okay.
Yeah, so in this comic book hero, he did many adventures, including parachuting.
Oh.
And then because of the Dan Cooper comics were never translated into English, nor were they widely distributed in the US.
It's something that you could have kind of snuck under the radar.
So many speculated that he had encountered them during a possible tour of duty in Europe. Because they're sticking hard with that he was an Air Force veteran.
Got it. I mean, I can see that.
And then Cooper also, like I said, chose a seat in the last row of the cabin for 3 possible reasons: to observe and respond to any action in front of him,
Sure,
to minimize the possibility of being approached or attacked by someone from behind,
absolutely,
and to make himself less conspicuous to the rest of the passengers.
All three.
All 3 is a person with military training might do.
I'm like, that's just my normal existence.
Or high anxiety.
Again, my normal
Yes.
existence.
And then Cooper knew how to operate the air staircase.
All of the knowledge that he has about planes.
Not only the demands he gave to the pilot, but the fact that he's like, Tina, fuck off. I'm going to do this myself.
I wouldn't even know how to approach it.
And he was successful because they got an alert saying, hey, the staircase has been lowered. So they knew he was able to do it himself. The FBI speculated that Cooper knew the CIA was using 727s to drop agents and supplies to enemy territory during the Vietnam War, and the plane that was hijacked was a 727.
Mm-hmm.
Between 1971 and 2016, the FBI processed more than 1,000 serious suspects, including assorted publicity seekers and deathbed confessors.
Confessors.
So they literally talked to over 1,000 people that could really possibly, I guess, be DB Cooper.
That sounds exhausting. I don't want to be in the FBI anymore.
So we're going to go over a couple of the people that they named specifically.
Potential like suspects. Okay.
So there was a man named Theodore Bernadette Braden Jr. It's a long name.
Braden?
Maybe Braden.
Unfortunate regardless.
We're going to call him Theo.
Too many names.
So Theo, he was a special forces commander during the Vietnam War, a master skydiver, and he was a convicted felon. He was believed by many within the special forces community, both at the time of the hijacking and in subsequent years, to have been Cooper.
Ooh.
In December 1966, Theo deserted his unit in the Vietnam and made his way to the Congo to serve as a mercenary, but only served there a short amount of time before being arrested by CIA agents and taken back to the US for a court martial, because that's what happens when you desert.
Oh.
Despite having committed a capital offense by deserting in wartime, Theo was given an honorable discharge and barred from ever re-enlisting in the military in exchange for his continued secrecy about MAC VSOG program.
Couldn't tell
Sounds
ya.
super secretive. Didn't look into it, but it sounds kind of cool.
Sounds like a really long acronym for something
It
that's going to be
does.
super boring and not exciting.
That's why I didn't go into it. So despite his ability as a soldier, he was not well liked personally and was described by a family member as, quote, the perfect combination of high intelligence and criminality.
But this guy seemed pleasant, so
Exactly.
I don't think it's him.
So that was a big thing. It's like, no, this guy was really liked, personable, even though he was literally hijacking a plane. So that doesn't fit. And then also his descriptors did not 100% match what was generally given, but they were kind of close. For all those reasons, they said, hey, I don't think it's this guy. So in 2003, a Minnesota resident named Lyle Christensen watched a TV documentary about the Cooper hijacking and became convinced that his late brother Kenneth was DB Cooper.
Ooh.
Which actually is how they found Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Yeah.
When they released his memoir,
it was a family
brother-in-law,
member,
I think, said, hey, I think this is my brother-in-law. So Christensen had been enlisted in the Army in 1944 and was trained as a paratrooper. In World War II, he was deployed in 1945, but he made occasional jump trainings while stationed in Japan with occupation forces in the late 1940s. After leaving the Army, he joined Northwest Orient in 1954 as a mechanic in the South Pacific and subsequently became a flight attendant and then a pursuer based in Seattle. I don't know what a pursuer is, but he worked for this legitimate
those dominoes are falling into place a little bit more. It explains the working knowledge of the planes for that particular company.
So he was 45 at the time of the hijacking, but he was shorter. He was only 5'8", a little bit thinner, 150 pounds, and lighter in complexion than the eyewitness's description. But I do not take anyone's eyewitness description.
Those are all things that can be completely skewed based on personal perception.
But for whatever reason, the FBI has publicly stated that they do not believe Christensen was Cooper.
Oh.
So now we go into Lynn Doyle, aka LD Cooper.
His last name is Cooper.
His last name is Cooper.
I feel like he would be smart enough not to use I don't know. So far, it's torn between the first guy and this last guy.
Yeah. So LD Cooper was a leather worker and a Korean War veteran, and he was proposed as a suspect in July 2011 by his niece, Marla Cooper. All these fucking family members are just ratting out their fucking families, bro.
Family means nothing,
apparently. I guess. So when Marla was 8 years old, she recalled Cooper and another one of her uncles were planning something, quote, very mischievous.
The fact that she was 8, throw everything out the window.
Right? That's
My
what
kid
I said.
Lies about everything all the time.
She said that their, mysterious, mischievous shit that they were doing was involving the use of expensive walkie-talkies. And it happened in Oregon. So she's like, A plus B equals Z. This is it.
Equals Z.
Because it doesn't. So the next day, Flight 305 was hijacked, which is the flight that he was on. And though the uncle stated that they were turkey hunting, LD Cooper returned home wearing a bloody shirt and said that he got into a car accident. So she's like, hey, it was my uncle. He survived the fall, but he got a little injured. And he just walked home like nothing ever happened.
He was probably out hunting and drunk and got shot, or he like hit a deer or something.
Or he actually hit a turkey, which he intended on doing, and got blood.
That one doesn't ring true. The fact that there's an 8-year-old in the mix, I immediately just throw that one out the window.
But apparently,
kids are liars.
They are. But apparently, LD was obsessed with that Canadian comic book hero, Dan Cooper, that I mentioned earlier.
As I'm sure a whole host of other boys were.
Cooper was never a skydiver or paratrooper. So FBI is like, that's cool. I don't think so. But she's like, nah, it's my uncle. So the FBI compared his DNA that was found on Cooper's tie, and it was not him.
Real talk. I have no shadow of a doubt in my mind that Gracie would rat out either one of her
1,000%.
Either Uncle Donald or soon to be Uncle Alex.
100%.
Serve up
even
their
for
heads
a crime
on the platter.
they didn't do. She'd be like, that sounds like him.
Right? Again, that would be an A plus B equals Z situation.
Exactly.
No, you don't stand a chance.
So there were about 8,000 other possible people that
Of course.
everyone thought was a suspect, but none of whom have been confirmed or have come close to even being legit. So what happened to Cooper? Like I stated earlier, the FBI believes Cooper most likely did not survive his jump due to his apparent lack of skydiving experience, his apparent unfamiliarity with parachutes, his lack of proper equipment for the jump and survival, the inclement weather on the night of the hijacking, the wooden terrain into which he jumped, and his lack of knowledge in the area, along with the fact that the ransom money was never used.
Oh.
There was that little
they
the
found it
5,800 that was
the
found,
beach.
but otherwise they've never been able to substantiate a bill that someone's given
In
with the same serial
circulation.
number. Yeah, but also like, how would you know?
Yeah, I don't understand
Do
how
you go
that
to
works.
each business within a
like,
50-mile radius?
If I go to Albertsons and pay for my groceries,
Yeah.
like they don't care enough.
to read the fucking serial numbers.
They don't care enough to even talk to me most of the time.
Self-checkout all day.
Absolutely. It's only when you have alcohol.
I know those bitches.
Or yeah.
So in conclusion,
In conclusion,
this crime remains as the only unsolved case of air piracy in the history of commercial aviation.
air
I think it's
piracy.
pretty funny. In November of 1976, a Portland grand jury returned an indictment in absentia against John Doe, aka Dan Cooper, for an air piracy in violation of the Hobbs Act. So basically, they
I'm
held
suing someone, but I don't know who.
well, they held a grand jury saying, "Hey, if this person is ever to be positively identified,
guilty.
guilty." The indictment formally initiated prosecution to be continued should the hijacker be apprehended. So if they found him, they were 1,000% going to go through.
It's
with
like a
prosecution.
standing order that you're
Yeah.
fucked.
The reason they did the grand jury is because the statute of limitations was coming up. So they wanted it on the record forever. You're guilty.
So grand jury statute of limitations doesn't apply.
It was before the statute of limitations. So they said, hey, let's say in
so it was-
December, statute of limitations is up. So in November, we're going to get a grand jury together and we're going to get a verdict
Oh.
anyway, which doesn't sound legal.
It doesn't.
But apparently in Oregon, it's
That's
legal.
some legal trickery right
I
there.
agree.
But it doesn't sound like anything ever came of that. So
Not yet, no.
Okay.
And then lastly, an annual convention known as CooperCon is held every year in late November in Vancouver, Washington. The event, founded by Cooper researcher Eric Eulis in 2018, is a multi-day gathering of Cooper researchers and enthusiasts.
You would think that all of that brain power would come up with something.
And there's been multiple people that are like, start from the beginning, go
This
through this, and they
Dude's
can't solve
probably dead already at this
Well,
point.
this was
I mean,
1971. He
and
was
they-
roughly in his 40s.
So 70s were
Yeah.
it's still not 30 years ago because it's
I
not
know.
1999 anymore. So 50 years ago. So he
So-
would be in his 90s at best.
Homeboy's dead. I think he's dead.
He's probably dead, whoever you are.
So I don't think this deserves a cracked rating because it did happen, and we don't have any legitimate, in my opinion,
No
suspects
lead
on who
of
to
who it
blame
could
it on.
be.
But it's interesting.
It is very interesting. I knew nothing going
can
into
tell.
it. No, it was very
Yeah,
like
it's
you
very
said,
cool.
interesting. I was engaged the entire
Good.
time.
Yeah, so that
I
is the
like
story
it.
of Mr. D.B. Cooper.
I feel
Ooh.
like I need to go back and watch
God,
Without
it
a
was
Paddle.
so good. It's on Peacock. I just watched it.
The free streaming one, or do you need the
The free one.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to revisit that.
So what do you think you are going to cover next week?
So I'm looking at the list, and the most recent thing I have circled but not X'd out is Simpsons /
Oh,
time travel.
that's good.
Matt Groening is
You're going to
a
have to do a
time
lot of
traveler.
research, though. Yeah, that should be fun. I like that.
There have been so many instances
Oh,
over
yeah,
the
he's
years where
1,000%
that
a
has
time
cropped
traveler.
up. I am excited about that. I have a couple new things to add. We had recent feedback via our Spotify
Yeah.
page from one Mr. Johnny, who is a personal friend and listener who
Yes.
really enjoys our stories, especially the personal aspects of our stories.
So Johnny works with our mom. He was letting us know that, obviously my mom will vent about whatever and tell specific stories about what happened. And then
from her
perspective. So he's like, it's kind of cool to be able to hear their perspective, and somewhere in the middle, I'm sure, is what actually
to
happened.
compare and contrast. And
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what holes have
Well, you
arisen.
didn't even say what he wanted us to cover.
Yet. He recommended covering the dancing plague.
I don't know what that
am
is.
unfamiliar, but it is worth adding to the list and will
Yes.
be a future topic. Our list is ever growing, and we do appreciate and take note of the feedback we receive. I keep it coming. We really do
Yes,
like the
please.
feedback.
Engage with us. Make it fun.
Yes, use our social media. Our Instagram, I think, is our most active
Yes.
place. So we respond to DMs. You can always email us at crackedsistersconspiracies@gmail.com. I know we've mentioned we have a Facebook that is going the way of the dinosaur.
It's auto linked to Instagram. So if you're someone on Facebook and you don't want Instagram, you can still get
if you're
everything.
the parent of someone on Facebook. We have a Twitter. Don't contact us on Twitter, please.
I've never been on it once.
And then we have our Patreon, which we're going to start engaging with a little bit more. There have been requests for different pieces of loot that you can acquire depending on the different subscription levels. So there was mention of my Chola days back in Halloween years and years ago. The request was, I have this picture. If you want to see that picture, that's something that you could witness.
And a minimum, it's $1.
$1.
That's $12 a year. So please don't make us resort to OnlyFans. Please just give us $1.
Give us $1 on Patreon. You can get access to videos, pictures, other interesting artifacts. You can communicate and interact with it. You'll actually get our attention.
We do want to do merch at some point, but we'll only do merch if it's
worthwhile.
If it's worth it. So if you guys don't donate, we don't know who wants it. So if you want some cool shit that we make, just donate. So with that,
stay cracked, y'all.
And have a great day.